Wait a second here. All right.
Mhm. Okay.
Welcome everyone. We are live and in color and in person here. I have been actually dying to have this guest come on. I'm actually going to ask her to do something at the end at this too. Maybe I'll wait till after we get on the air for after it's done. But so for 101 Tales, 101 Tales, Elsa Garagarza is an illustrator. Works at, and she has one of the coolest jobs in the universe, like bar none, right? So we, just as a friendly introduction, as a gathering, got the opportunity to do. So we were just talking off the air. Is what you did. So like, should we just start like the fact that you're just like animator story, like the thing you talked about, like you did JLA versus like the Fatal Five, right?
Yeah. I'm a storyboard artist in animation, and I've done a lot of work for Warner Brothers, and I've participated in a lot of their direct to DVD movies that are based on DC content, on graphic novels that a lot of people know and love. Before I started that job, I was more well versed in the Marvel universe, specifically X-Men. So now I can say that I'm like more balanced because of everything that I have learned.
Well,
So yeah, that's one of the movies that I've worked on.
yeah, no, I mean you'd have to like. I imagine like comics are probably like great for you in one sense because it's like, yeah, I got my storyboards. I kind of know what I have an idea what I'm doing, but it's also kind of like, yeah, I have my storyboards and I know what I'm doing, right? Yeah.
That happens. It's very much yeah. Sometimes you I've been storyboarding for quite some time, but for since 2000 as in-house since 2009. Yes, since 2009 in-house. I you never finish learning. It's like it's a completely it's a never-ending journey into filmmaking. So yeah, you're like, I know what I'm doing. You know your things, and then you have to try your things, and then you hit roadblocks sometimes. Writer's blocks, storyboard artist blocks. It's like, how am I gonna do? I cannot visualize this. But yeah, it's cool to be working. I like superheroes, so it's really nice to be
So where
working
did
on
your love of
those.
superheroes come from? I'm just curious.
Me, the superheroes, where I started, you mean that my first title? I got into superheroes. Normally, I used to watch a lot of animation, and yeah, there was like the Superman tale here and there, or a Batman story that some friend will talk about. I got into comics in around dating myself in around before 1990 with X-Men Inferno, with that
Okay.
saga. Yeah, so it was like breathtaking. It was so dramatic and so interesting.
So do you want to hear mine? What was my first? Like I had two comics, my first two comics. I still remember them.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Okay, so one you might not be so familiar with. It was Starman number 14. It was had Superman guest star in Starman. It was Roger Stern, Tom Lyle's Starman run, which I do think is actually very underrated. It's the Will Payton Starman. It's not the Jack Knight Starman, but Will the first, I'd say the first 2 years of that Starman run was really good. The other one was Green Lantern. Like that's why I really clicked with the Green Lantern stuff because although unfortunately the writer of that title is not exactly in a good place in life right now. Um,
Okay.
right. That's how I met Hal Jordan. That's how I met Guy Gardner. That's how I met John Stewart. Like that, like first 8 issues, I was the how I met them. And then
Hmm.
after that, it was they did a Guy Gardner story. Guy is in his ignore. And then they did the first Mosaic story, and that's and that's when I started to see how much you could do with John, like that. And then I started
Yes.
getting into like this. And then we started getting like the Silver Age stuff, like the Green Lantern Corps stuff. I got like the Green Lantern Corps title. I have Sinestro's first appearance. I actually have
Oh
Sinestro.
my god. Oh
Yeah,
my god.
yeah. He is not the badass in his first appearance that he becomes in like now. But no, I have like all like that John, like all the house stuff up until like some. I don't have all the early issues, but I have a lot of them. And then I have like again when Guy became Green Lantern, went to the coma. I think I have that one. I have like when Jon Stewart first appeared as the Green Lantern sub, I have some of the Green Lantern and Green Arrow run, and I have pretty much everything from like 141 all the way to like to now. I still read Green Lantern to this day.
That is fantastic. I think that you're as knowledgeable in Green Lantern as I was on the X-Men series, because I used to collect everything like X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, Excalibur, and X-Force, anything X. So I think that, and I collected it from Inferno, and then I did some backlogging on it, like on Dark Phoenix Saga and everything. I did get that graphic novel, and I read a little bit about the origins. So I was super knowledgeable until the death of Charles Xavier. That's where they lost me. so I think that
that's fair.
But everything that you know of Green Lantern is kind of like what I knew. I haven't touched it in a while, so a lot of details have, been replaced in my head with other things. But I think that you're as well versed in that as I am versed in this, because what I got to learn from Green Lantern was from my experience in what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, we both agree on one thing. Jon Stewart is the secret money in Green Lantern. It's not any of the other characters. It's Jon, because Jon's amazing and he's untapped. Like Kyle, I like Kyle. I grew up reading Kyle, but he's Percival. And don't get me wrong, you can always do that, but it's been done. And how, with all due respect to Hal Jordan, he can be done very well, but of all the characters, he's the least three-dimensional, right? Guy.
Well, I mean, he's your action guy. Your hold on. Let me turn on this light because I tested my light with another thing. Let me see this. Oopsie, sorry. Because I think I look much better. that way you can see me much better.
You look good either way, all right? And then
thank you.
Yeah, but
I just felt like a floating head in the darkness behind me.
Yeah, that's cool. That's totally cool. I can be the floating head now. It's all good.
Yeah, but you look good.
Yeah, but I look at like Guy is such a complex character. I mean, and there's so much you can do with him. Kilowog's a neat character too. He's somebody like it's not a human. I'm a big fan of. I actually enjoyed Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz as a team. Although Baz, I think Baz does get a bit of a short end. Personal note, I'm not. Although Jeff created him, Simon was better without him. That's just my opinion. But that's just my opinion. So I mean, I'm fans of all of them. I even love some of the old Alan Scott stuff. Like that is like the old like pulpy, like that as pulpy as you get with Green Lantern. I love Alan Scott.
Yeah.
But I think of all of them, John's the one I'm like, yeah, yes, please give me more of him. I think the cartoon.
He has like he had this traumatic life experiences that he has to come to terms with and grow into the Green Lantern mantle, at least in what I've worked with him on. So does Jessica. We also discussed Jessica, that she also has overcome great
Jessica might
great
be
ordeals.
I actually think Jessica's the bravest one of them all. Like I actually think she's, because when you have that monster inside you and you have to fight that monster every single time, and yet you do that and you still go, like, yeah, that takes incredible strength in that alone, let alone that she's fighting that and fighting some bad guy and kicking their ass too. It's like she's always outnumbered, so she's always kind of fighting. Like that takes a lot of bravery, right? John though is, I think, the one where it's like it's totally like about willpower. Like it literally, it's like I get knocked down, it's how I get back up. And that's John in a nutshell. And that's what makes him such a really cool character. And out of all of them, it's like, I love Kyle, but I want to write John. Because Kyle...
I don't know Kyle. I'm sorry, I don't know Kyle. And I wish I prepared for this, but because I'm like, I gotta research this guy. This is, Kyle sounds like it's one character that I don't know, but
Honestly, John, to be perfectly honest, John and Guy are more interesting in terms of what you can do with them. Guy is the one that can you can break the moral code a little bit and get away with it, and it's a lot of fun to do. And whereas John, like I said, it's just what he's overcome. It makes him such a very, very strong character. And of the core, I love Salak. Salak is like the dry administrative type, and he's hilarious. Like a wicked sense of humor. And I'm like, and Kilowog's just a badass. And cool mythology. Like, I am a not so Green Lantern fan because I've just been reading it for so long. That's me.
Yes.
X-Men. I want to like the X-Men. This is my take on the X-Men. I want to like them. There's so much of it. It scares me. So
Yes, it was
that's
a lot of titles. A lot of titles, X-Men, X-Force, Excalibur, and they were cool stories, but it's just like it's so vast that it's really hard to get a grasp. If I hadn't read it through the 90s and collected all the titles, because I gobbled it up, if right now I would be like, you know what, I can't get into this. It's just too much.
yeah. So I didn't really get into the X-Men as a comic until actually about 5 years ago. I enjoyed X-Men Red. I loved Tom Taylor's take on Jean Grey as like what if Jean Grey was like Charles, and it was a neat take on the X-Men. I always thought that book got a little like undersold, and of all the recent stuff they just did, so I didn't like the main stuff, but I loved Kitty Pryde as a pirate's like cool, right? I think okay, you want to do X-Men with pirates? I'm in. I don't care. This is gonna be fun.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and Excalibur is just a fun concept, like just a really, 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 really fun concept. And so I was like, you know what? I'll do those. I might occasionally I might dabble in something else, but I'm like, you know what? These are the books. Those are the X-Men books I'm going to touch, the main books and everything, and Wolverine and like Wolverine's like Batman to me. Stay as far away from it as possible. I can always get. There's always a Batman story and there's always a Wolverine story, and they're great characters.
Yeah.
But they've been done so much. I really don't know what I can say about them anymore. For me, what could I bring to the table? Does that make sense?
I have to agree. I feel the same way as you. I mean, probably I would, if I had to focus on someone else, I would love to focus. You know who I always loved? Why am I forgetting her name? I always loved her. Purple hair. Yes. Yeah, I love her story.
The current Excalibur run, she becomes.
I'm going to check it out.
She becomes Captain Britain. It's awesome.
I am going to check that out. I mean, I've always been a fan of hers. Her arc, her mind into the ninja, and
it's different, but Excalibur by Teenie Howard was a ton of fun. It just was that book was the gem, I think, of all the Krakatoa X-Men. Like, I'm staying as far away from the main stuff as possible. I'm not going to touch it with the 10-foot pole, but the side stuff. I like Kitty Pryde as an X-Men. I'm a big fan of her.
She's super cute.
Right. I like her as an X-Men, so I got that. It's like, wait, you're putting her in Pirates as a pirate? Okay, I'm in. I don't care.
It sounds fantastic. Just grab those, and even some of the original characters, give them a twist or re-identify them as something else, because they have been done, as you say, and they've been with us for generations, for decades.
So Psylocke was your favorite?
Who?
Psylocke was your favorite?
Psylocke was my favorite. For a long time, I loved Psylocke because I just thought that her story was very, very compelling. Although I didn't know as much as I didn't before. I don't know much of her story before she was into the Quanon body. When she was British, Betty Braddock. I don't know as much as I would like to. I just kind of read a little bit, but by the time that I got into it, she was already transformed into Quanon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ninja. Yeah.
She's Betsy Braddock again, by the way, which is neat.
Oh,
she's neat.
I loved and the way that they portrayed her like a butterfly. I just thought that was so graceful. At the same time that she was always cloaked. I gotta see that.
Both the caterpillar
look forward to.
Yeah, both the caterpillar and the butterfly at the same time. But so now we talked Green Lantern. So what else have you done? Just give the audience a bit of an idea of some of the stuff you've worked on that you're particularly proud of.
Well, when I started in animation, I graduated here as an illustrator in the United States. I immigrated I'm from Mexico. I used to be an architect. Don't be impressed. I didn't really do great. My career as an architect, I was not really.
Wasn't for you.
It wasn't for me. I love the architecture per se, but I didn't like the construction. and I started doing illustrations on the side because I always loved comics, illustration, and animation. And then my then boyfriend, now husband, we moved here to California. He studies his master's in structural engineering in Berkeley, and I studied at the Academy of Art my second degree. So I got like I only studied 2.5 years the core subjects, and I got my degree in illustration. I was always like between animation, illustration, but I really wanted to learn how to paint, so I went into illustration. But I knew that I was going to look for a job in animation because I needed visa sponsorship. So I decided to go into either background layouts or background design. And my first job was as a background designer in Avatar: The Last Airbender, the TV series from Mike and Ryan. Yeah.
You got one of the good ones like right away.
I was incredibly lucky because everything that I was working on, I worked on my last year when I did take a couple of animation classes that was layout for animation, and I was gearing my portfolio using that classes to create a portfolio. And my being very into an architect and loving anime and everything, my backgrounds were very realistic. But a lot of the market at that time was very stylized, like the Fairly Odd Parents and SpongeBob, and so I was thinking, oh, what am I gonna, yes, maybe I could like get into feature, but that's a little harder because they wanted more artists with more experience to get into feature. So I was like gearing my portfolio. I was just submitting my portfolio, and Avatar, this unknown show called Avatar, was hiring background layout people.
You got
so
like you were on like the best North American cartoon of the last 20 years. Easy. Like
how can I top that?
Yeah.
How can I top that? I have projects. You can give me a show out of tiny little mushrooms or rocks, and I will find something compelling to do with it because that's me, But yeah, I mean, so I find fulfillment in almost any project that I worked on. I have found different kinds of fulfillments. But yes, that Avatar was like fantastic, and I started since episode 3 from first season until the end.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah,
That was my
anime. Yeah, but that was my animation school, and also it was great because we were all fans of anime, and we got to watch anime, and that is how I got to learn about it was recommended to watch Naruto for the show. So
interesting that's the one you were chosen. See from that era. I'm a big Full Metal Alchemist fan.
Right? Yes, I know.
I'm a big Full Metal Alchemist fan. I believe it or not, in my head, I actually have an idea how to link the 2 Full Metal Alchemist series as like a one-off like movie feature. I actually figured out a way to do it. I might pitch it someday because I actually think there is one aspect to like Edward's character that I always thought was unexplored that would be really neat to do once. It would just reaffirm like why Alphonse is so important to Ed. So yes, I'm a big fan of that show. But Avatar is just like that was everything you'd love about. It had certain Western sensibilities that weren't in anime, but all the good stuff, like what. As a guy that still loves cartoons to this day, like right now, like right now I'm watching Fairy Tail. That's my binge because it's a long series. I take my time. I'm
gonna write it down. I'm not watching it, so I gotta write it down.
I'm gonna warn you up front. It's a battle anime like Naruto, but the characters are better. The characters are all better. It does.
Good.
It kind of the Dragon Slayer archetype is a bit busted. Like again, much like Dragon Ball, the Super Saiyan thing. That's the Dragon Slayer kind of thing. But but the characters, like you will legitimately like. There's a couple scenes in there. It's like, oh my god, I'm tearing. I must be getting old because I'm tearing up a lot more for some of this stuff now, right? You really can. Like the characters are really really good. You connect to them so well. And that's
fantastic.
That's why that show's good. The battles are cool, but it's the fact that they have such a big diverse cast of amazing characters, and it can be silly, right? They're
Hmm.
completely silly, but it just yeah. There's when it goes for the if it goes for the guts, it takes everything.
I'm
But
gonna watch that.
yeah, Avatar did the same thing. It grabbed everything. I wish you guys had that last season because God,
Well, yes, I know. Yeah, we all wanted it because by that time we had been working on that show for
it was
most of us.
chaos. It was like I mean, if not like the if not for the if you couldn't do a series with a budget, that does happen. At least do a few movies. Wrap it up. Like not I like it would have been better than what I got in the movie theaters from Avatar. Like I'm like the movie the live action movie hurt a lot.
Yeah, that went on another direction. That
Yeah,
was completely, yeah. Mike and the creators, Mike and Brian, yeah, they were consultants, but yeah, it was taking in another direction. And I think Shyamalan is very good dramatic and how do you say drama suspense is good for that. But I don't think he was good
it
for
missed.
the action that Avatar required.
Well, not only the
I don't,
action, some of the heart. Like some of the heart
yeah,
items that wasn't there.
yeah,
Um.
because
Oh
he's
man.
more of an intrigue. He's more for intrigue and
And
all
that
that stuff that we love.
yeah. Well, that's part like that's the cool thing about Avatar. It was in there too. Okay, I'm tired and I'm sorry. It's been a long
Don't worry,
days.
don't worry.
The
You
the
look great.
yeah, the redemption of the Fire Lord. That was so
Mhm.
well done. Like it hit you so hard. That's why you wanted that
Yeah.
season. It's like, okay, where do you go from here? And
The move, and I'm calling it a movie. The last, because the crew, we got to watch as a farewell. We got to watch it in the Paramount in a Paramount movie theater, and the score, because that score that this way, the score was for that finale. It was like a special instrumental music, and we were all watching it on the big screen, and we were thinking this looks great for, because sometimes you have like your TV show, you put it on a huge screen and it doesn't hold up. Well, this one held up, and the music was fantastic, and we were all like, like our hairs were standing because the music was made for the finale. It was very dramatic, and it was like hard enough, and but in a way also subtle enough. There was something about it. It was like
no,
so
you guys were an amazing
beautiful.
team. Like that. I like again North America. I don't think's been able. It's come close a couple times, but I like you guys have been the standard for the last 20 years.
I
Easy.
think that the relationship, and I was not at the forefront of it. I
No,
was
no,
on
no,
the design team, but the direction that we were taking from the Korean studio, they gave us a lot of input back, and we were listening to them, to what they needed to translate, and they were giving us a lot of input on how to, what they needed, and how to, in some of the design, some of the characters, how to design them, because they were designed on the first season, and they gave us tips and pointers on how to design the characters in a way that they could animate it better. We it was that communication helped, because I don't think it would have been the same without all
no,
the
no.
back and forth with that studio,
Oh,
with
the whole,
JM and DR.
the whole like you that show is living proof that you the right team at the right place at the right time and right can just do amazing things if you just give them the chance. And kudos like not just to you but to everybody else involved. That was
Oh
yeah like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah I mean that yeah wow yeah that's hard like that's a hard one to top. Like I hope I like my hope for you is that you get another opportunity somewhere down the line. Like that, like
I
that's what
started I started running. That's how I felt. I started running. I didn't start like, walking. I started running. And that was the show that inspired me to go into storyboards. Because I
yeah.
was watching the board artists do all this amazing staging and the drama, and because he had it was a great combination of action, heart, and drama. It was not like your typical, like, boom, boom, boom cartoon where everything action, action, action. Action's great. I love it. I was an action board artist for a long time. But you have to have your drama part and you have to have your heart part. And it got funny, silly. It got silly because Aang was the silly character. Sokka is not my favorite character of all time. Sokka, I just love Sokka. My Sokkaisms are leaving me right now. But yeah, Flamio and all those things that Sokka was my favorite. And right now I was watching it. I've been watching it with my daughter. Now that they put it up on Netflix, I've been watching that series with my daughter. So it's been great to like rewatch it again with Natalia. And Natalia's been like, laughing out loud.
And Natalia is probably like, this is awesome. And you're like, yes, it was on every end.
It was awesome. Yeah. It was like, yeah, this is great. And heart racing. And yeah. And but I started doing something that annoyed her. I would be like, "Ooh, I drew that background. I drew that background. I drew that." And she was like, "No, stop." I'm like, "I drew that background too. I drew that background. That's mine. That's my background too." So that was so fun. It's like my mom won't stop.
Please let me enjoy this, Mom. You can tell me what you did after. Just let me have this moment.
Let me watch it. Let me have this moment. I'm in this. I don't need to know that you did that tent or that those cobblestones.
Yeah, but okay. So I guess here's my question for you. Now you started going to storyboards after this. So
yeah.
The difference is, okay, animation's all about, much like live action, it's all about motion. Like when I work on when I work on a comic script versus when I work on a screenplay takes into account motion. Like it's always about it's about movement, right?
Yes.
Storyboards are about the illusion of movement. They're not quite the same thing. They're close, but not quite. You can do passages of time with stillness in a storyboard that you can't with a live action or an animation. However, motion's a big part of the language. Both of them use motion. One uses the lack of it, and one uses it ensemble. Do you have a preference?
I actually think this is really funny because you get in. I drew some comics and I love sequential art. I still love graphic novels, and I would love to do graphic novels, but there's of my own in the future. There's this thing after being immersed in storyboarding and in cinematography. I feel that I'm like, how do I do this in sequential art, like for graphic novels? I kind of like lost the grip of which panels to choose, what exactly action to choose, because I'm used to doing the before, the moment of the action. Like let's say that I'm gonna do this on somebody's head, so I have like the antic, then I put the moment of impact, and then I have like the action of so I'm like, what should I do? Should I just do? And I'm like, which is the panel that I should choose for the perfect one for visual storytelling in a graphic novel format? I kind of like fell out of it, but yes, the inclusion of motion. I'm drawing the motions on paper. It got me a little bit like out of touch with what drawing is the perfect one for a graphic novel, which I used to know.
Okay.
But yes, there's rules that you have to obey when you're telling a story, when you're boarding, because you have like the cinematography rules, the 180 rule, where you're supposed to put a camera in just like on 100, not 360. Just set your cameras in 180. Yeah, and there's all these things that you have to follow, which you don't necessarily have to follow on a graphic novel. Maybe if you follow them, the compositions are gonna be kind of weird, because.
So I'm going to give you a recommendation, someone to read, look up. You will appreciate him. Pick any of his books. I'll recommend 2 for you. Echo, right? Or Strangers in Paradise by Terry Moore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Strangers in Paradise.
Okay, so here's why I think you'll, in particular, dig him. He taught me a secret without actually meeting. I interviewed him. Holy crap, way too long ago. But we had a great conversation because I was a big fan of this book of his called Rachel Rising, which he was just finishing, which made he was just finishing. And I love that run. It is really brilliant. But one thing I didn't realize until after he was done, he never changed the size of his panels ever for anything. And what that did, though, and I thought this was really neat, it could made the books denser. Right? He didn't do a grid, but they were all like the same. It wasn't like a grid exactly, but he was using the picture sizes were all the same. So when you read the book, it's like nothing feels like big, but now it feels now the book had these books feel incredibly dense, right? And amazing, and they feel more like storyboards than comics. So something tells me, you in particular would dig that. Now I now Strangers in Paradise, if you like sense of humor, romance, it's a romantic comedy kind of thing. Echo's superhero-y. I still get the impression you enjoy action a lot. I get that impression.
Yeah.
Now the other one I'm a big fan of is it's coming out. It's called Zoe. So he made this serial killer. It's like looks like a 13-year-old, and like the first introduction, she like you see how she. Well, it's a really quick and nasty way to murder somebody, right? And it was really quick and well done. And it's like, and you find out all this information about her. You go from horrified at her to rooting for her, and she's still like a serial killer. She still kills people, but you're okay.
Interesting.
By the time you're through Rachel Rising, you're okay with this. And I'm not quite sure how he did that exactly, but you're utterly okay with Zoe, and it's like, dang,
brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. When you can make it, when you can make the audience connect with the characters, even if it's like a in any way, even if it's like a villain, when you make that's the magic.
Oh, villains are awesome, because villains are. I said this actually. I literally said this morning. Jeez, I guess we're going full circle. Cool thing about villains is they can be anything you want them to be. Anything you want them to be. The important rule with a villain, there's only one rule with them. They have to have integrity in terms of what they want, and that they will follow through on their promise to how to get there. They have to be true to what they want. If you don't have that, they're not serious. But if you do have that, right? If you do have that, whether they're a scary villain, whether they're a silly villain, doesn't matter. Tone doesn't matter. They will be respected, and that way in the role they're in, and that's super important.
Yeah. Because if you don't put why would the audience care? You have to ground that's something that is like, why would if you don't put the craft into creating like the story, or you need to respect your audience and give them something they can grasp. So if you don't visualize well or round up your character, especially your main characters, I always think it's like you need to make the audience care for them. So
yeah, main characters are best when they have a few flaws, or they're working to overcome stuff, and that they're the best. Although I do think, okay, grant you, there is that part of me. I love the Silver Age Superman. He doesn't really have any flaws. He's almost like somebody's dad. But I'm okay with him being somebody's dad. That's actually, that really works for him, and I really wish.
I think it does.
I don't know why they don't do more of that with him, because that's actually him at his absolute best. Is be that character.
I think he has worked that way well. So even though maybe I would be interested in other characters that have more. Other flaws or other points of interest or other struggles. I think he works well.
Yeah.
So I agree on that one.
In that one, just I mean, yeah. In terms of gravity, I don't think you can do a Superman story with gravity. I don't know you want to. I actually think he's better. I think he's better silly, a little silly, a little silly, not too silly. Like, there's a fine line with him. You don't want him to be, but he's having fun, and if he's having fun with it, you can have fun too. That's how I would do Superman. That's actually completely how I would do Superman. I don't care about the secret identity. You can have it, not have it, doesn't matter. If Jimmy Olsen's becoming a monster every week, If he's trying to do something to impress Lois, it doesn't matter whether he's Clark Kent or Superman, right? If he's trying to do some really crazy invention of the week, that works. Let him just let him be that. Like he can be Superman, and that's the Superman I think everybody can get behind. I if I want dark and broody and moody, I'll go Batman or Wolverine.
Yeah. Because Superman is an uncomplicated character. He's not a. He has like very simple principles, and he's kind of like his character is kind of like in a way streamlined. I think that he's a non-complex character. He's all about the truths that he holds.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it works. It's his helm.
He's almost an absolute. That's actually why he works. He's almost not quite, but he's close enough that it's like, you know what, it works. Let's see. Done. So, okay? We talked Green Lantern. What's your favorite DC mythos that you've played with? Is it Green Lantern? If it is, what else have you played?
It has been Green Lantern. I think I worked in Green Lantern, the animated series. That was like around 2010, 2011, and when the show came out, and that's how I got into contact with all those characters. And it was only one season. Yeah, it was only one season, and we introduced the character Razor and the character Aya. In that series, and it was basically Hal Jordan getting used to his into the Green Lantern, into his Green Lantern, his hero persona, and he was traveling around with Kilowog, and Sarlacc wasn't there as part of the ship, but you had Aya and Razor, and we stumbled upon Guy Jordan and other Atrocitus. Yeah, Atrocitus. I wish I had. We saw a little bit of the Purple Girls, the Sapphires, the Star Sapphires. So Carol became Star Sapphire. So it was a little bit of a blend, a little bit of all the big mythology included. Light, because it was like woven lightly into so that we could include as much as possible. I think Sharfleeze. I don't know Sharfleeze joined.
The orange lamp.
Sharfleeze. Now I'm calling him.
It's okay. He's almost. What made him interesting was when you first see him, it's almost a joke. Like it's almost
yeah.
Right. Then you realize he's just insanely, ridiculously powerful. And
yeah.
He's like, honestly, he's a little kid with all the toys, and he breaks them. That's who he is.
Yeah.
That's totally who he is. And it's like, you're scary with that kind of power, right? And,
yeah.
Right. That's what made him. But the problem with him, I actually have all the Lanterns. He's my least favorite, and not because I don't think he's a bad character. I think as a villain, he has only one note, right? He's
very one-dimensional. The challenge will be to add to that dimension.
Now, I think when he's somewhat in between, like he could be Green Lantern's Deadpool, and I think I would actually work with him because he's greedy, like in almost like in a Daffy Duckish kind of way. So if you make him like Daffy Duck and you give him like a Bugs Bunny to play off of, it could actually be hilarious. And I think you could actually ride that a little bit. But I don't like as a villain, it's kind of like a Venom with Spider-Man. Venom is a great villain for Spider-Man in tiny dosages. If he has too much screen time, because his objective is very specifically just Peter Parker. So the fact that he knows Peter Parker Spider-Man does give him a really cool advantage, right? As long as it's only him. But the flip side is you do that more than 1 or 2 episodes.
It's Venom again.
Yeah.
Here's Venom again. Yeah,
exactly. Because it's the same thing. He wants the exact same thing, and there's nowhere to go but to evolve the character beyond that little thing. Like that same LaFreeze is the same way. He's greedy, but like, okay, you're a greedy slob, and you're always going to be a greedy slob. So why don't we give you like random wild goose chases for get quick rich schemes, because if anyone would be a sucker for them, it would be him. Just give him like a treasure map and
Hmm.
like space pirates. I think that was a good idea for like as a one and done. Like give him like space pirates to fight against that want the same treasure he does. That could be funny. Like that could actually be funny and entertaining and you know, okay, make it Marvin the Martian instead, Daffy Duck on Marvin the Martian instead of, but it would totally work, I
That
think.
sounds funny, Marvin the Martian. Yeah, that would work.
Yeah, yeah. Give him Marvin. So if what are you working on right now, if you don't, unless you can't talk about it. If you can't,
I cannot say at the moment, but I'm still working on the on those movies that go, those DC DTV movies. I'm working on those. Yeah, I cannot say the one that I'm working on right now. The latest one that got released was Superman: Man of Tomorrow.
okay, that's good.
Yeah, so that's the latest one that is watchable right now, and it is a
It is.
neat, sensible origin story for Clark. So.
Okay. So we just mentioned Superman. So Green Lantern's been your favorite of the superheroes.
Mhm.
Avatar. So Avatar is like the milestone. So I guess like topping Avatar sounds silly, but it sounds to me like you would enjoy a series like not necessarily like Avatar in the sense of like that exact kind of story, but the nuance and Act One and Act Two and Act
Yeah,
Three,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
start
yeah.
and finish. That you'd be interested in trying something like that again, I think.
I did get the fantastic chance to join Legend of Korra in the end, in the fourth season, because at that time I was like I had just had I was having my kids at the time, and my boy and my girl, and then in the and as I was like, in between those seasons, I was like feeling that Korra was being made, and I was feeling, oh my God, that's the best party I haven't been able to join. But in the end, a board artist left, and I wanted to join as a board artist, not as a designer. And in the end, a board artist left for another job as a supervising director, and that's when I was like, I call, I emailed Brian Kunitsko, and I was like, please, please, please consider me. And I got to join Legend of Korra. So that was pretty good. It was, although I had a 6-month-old baby, it was kind of hard because it's very labor intensive. And Legend of Korra amped up the Avatar: The Last Airbender in technicality, in the in all the in animation. So, but I was happy that I joined that. So it's I would love to do shows like that. Now my kids are older, so I have time.
Yeah.
So I would love to be involved in shows like that, in
So
very cinematic shows like that.
so did you sleep at all during Legend of Korra? I should ask that question because it sounds like that would be interesting balance: drawing, taking care of baby, and somewhere in there remembering to eat and sleep somewhere.
It was like that. It was a lot of work, and I was at the disadvantage that the crew, the board artist crew, because in the first two it's 4 books or four mini seasons. In the first 2 mini seasons, everything was boarded in Korea, and then they decided to board in the third and the fourth season. They decided to board here so that the animation studio at Korea could. Focus on the animation. So by the time that I joined in the fourth season, everybody else was caught up with the nuances of the show and drawing the characters, and I felt that I was like, oh my God, everybody's so into it, and I'm just learning the chops of how to how this is working, how we're drawing this and how we're drawing the characters. And it was kind of hard. I remember that for the last episode, because we were working on the series finale, and we were working all night just to turn in the deadline, and I was like, because I was like, I chat with my fellow board artist and I were working late for the next day for the pitch, preparing for the pitch, and I was telling my fellow board artist is like, I think I have a fever. So I turned in my episode and I went home and I didn't make it for the pitch because I told my director Mel, I was like, Mel, I have a fever. I'm not gonna make it. So I didn't make it to my last pitch, but I was pretty happy. I was, it was a great experience, cinematic wise. Yeah.
But also just it's slightly. So I could see why Avatar would still be like the baby, although it was fun. You got to almost go back to the same world, but from a different perspective. You were adding to it, but it wasn't exactly. It was your little piece of it, but it wasn't like you you had the ability of Avatar for 3 seasons to be a big part of the show. This one was like the show was already kind of been made. Your job was just not to mess it up. Is that? It
was like Avatar. It was like Avatar grew up. That's it's like the next step. That's what it was.
Yeah. So, do you prefer movies or do you prefer shows like that?
I am right now liking the feature format. I for the longest time I worked in episodes in TV episodes, which I love. I am liking right now the feature format. This is direct to video movies, but not a theatrical. I would love to work on theatrical, just for the experience of it. Although I know that's like a lot of working and finessing ideas. This feature direct to video that I'm working on is like the perfect blend of both worlds. It's like you have enough time to experiment, but not that much time because it's not a very long schedule. So I am liking the feature the feature format.
So I'm gonna
although to watch, I love television because you can do so much development, the character and story development on TV, episodes.
It seems to. So I think the thing about features to me is you can tell a more complex, singular story with a feature film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But telling a full story requires a television show.
Exactly. It requires a TV show. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can see why you'd want. So when you're doing a feature, you're doing a lot more like detail work because it's not. You have more room to breathe, so you can add more nuances, little details. Like you think about things. You think about things a lot more, right? Because now you have a lot more time to go. How do I want to tell this story now? Now, don't get me wrong. I imagine for seasons on television, you do have a lot more of preparation. But once you get to like seasons 2, season 3, season 4, you're not prepping as much because you're in now the machine of producing.
Yeah. And you might have assets that have already been built, depending on whether if it's like 2D or CG. You already have a lot of assets that are there for your, unless it's a traveling show and you change dimensions and whatnot, you normally have, assets that you can use. So I remember that I do have after Avatar, I worked in Penguins of Madagascar, the TV show for DreamWorks, which was, and I was still being a graphic. I was still being a background designer there while I was working on freelance, trying to establish myself as a board artist. But yeah, the first it's always top heavy because you have to build everything, and the episodes looked a little empty at the beginning because you're building your sets and your props and your characters, and then there's a moment when things is like, oh yeah, you can reuse assets. So
yeah, and also I think every show requires finding a voice, whereas a feature you have maybe 5 minutes to figure that voice out. If you don't have it,
have to. Yes, you need to start with the voice, actually. Yeah, your opening is very important because you have to establish everything from the beginning. I mean, it's like you have, it's very, the beats of the you have a lot to more time to explore how you're going to tell the story, but the structure is tight on a movie. Yeah, you can't take too much time on different things unless you're it's going to be a series of movies then. But yeah, you have the structure is tight, but you have time to think about it.
Yeah. No, but even then, you only have so much time because even though it's a sequence of movies like the death of Superman, you had to establish stuff in the first one.
Yeah,
In order
yeah.
for the second one, like that voice had to be there. Otherwise, the death and the return would be a very disjointed mess, and that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and you don't want that. Like you'd want a very consistent. I hope you don't mind me going on the story like details like this because
No, no.
this is neat to me because I don't get to play it like in animation very much, right? So this is kind of fun. But it seems to me like okay, so when I write a novel, right, I have a cowardly character in this one novel, and he's a coward. So I established very early on that he likes things nice and safe and combat, and because then when I completely take that away from him, he's completely like uncomfortable, right? And that's the thing, like that's where the humor, the conflict, all that stuff is. I took this fish that had this like tank he had lived in for years, and I'm like, I destroyed the tank. It's like, nope, and now the water's in an ocean, right? And then that's the voice I'm kind of going with him. Like I know that like, that's a novel. Short story, I'm like, okay, I have to have that voice immediately because if I
Hmm.
do it, that person reading it is going to go like,
Yeah,
right,
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
right.
it's yeah, the beats are yeah, you have to like hit those beats in the specific order that that the story requires. So yeah, you cannot skip those beats or else the people are gonna be they have
Take
nothing to
them out.
grasp on.
You take them right out of the story, and once you do that, you've lost them,
Hmm.
right? Be like,
You lost them, yeah.
and once you lose them, you can't get them back, or you almost never, or you gotta do something really amazing immediately, or it's like, nope.
Yeah, no, you gotta, yeah, yeah, that's the thing. It's really funny because it's kind of like an inverse thing of how you have behind the scenes you have a little more chance to move things along in comparison to a TV show or at least TV show in animation. I'm sure that in live action it's also, you can't be skipping beats because, the schedule is coming and you have to like, so you have to move to the next episode and the next episode. At least in the story department, the designers have a way of working on different episodes at the same time. But as a storyboard artist, you're focusing on your stuff, on your episode, and then you move to the next one, and then you move to the next one. And it's not like, oh, I'll fix it later. No, you don't fix it later. You gotta fix it at the time because it has to go to product. We are in pre-production. It has to go to be animated. So you cannot be like, there's no I'll fix it later. Whereas but the story has time to develop. From the writers, from story, you have you can take. You also have to like keep your audience, make a good story, but you have time to you have space for establishing characters and adding motivations and stuff. But when you're in a feature, yeah, you have more time to like think, how am I gonna nip tuck these beats here. But when it comes down to the story, you better make them tight because the feature is gonna last only 72 minutes, and so the story has a pace.
So
So
we're gonna switch gears slightly before we wrap this up. I gotta ask this because you've done a lot of properties that have already like been established, but I have to think. Okay, actually, I'll ask this question first. You seem like someone that seems to enjoy the discipline of an established Bible of characters. If you know what I mean by that, if you know what I mean by that, it's just like okay, like in Green Lantern, you know who Hal Jordan is, you know who Carol Ferris is, you know who John Stewart is, you know who Guy Gardner is, you know who they are. And I think the neat thing, I think the thing maybe you enjoy is figuring out your own twist on these characters, like adding their own, like your own little dimensions to them. Maybe make John a little bit more playful. Maybe make Guy a little bit more of an asshole. Maybe make Carol like not buy Hal's bullshit at all. And like, is it like right? That's the thing about Carol is like she just like she knows he's full of shit. She loves him anyway, but she knows he's full of
she
shit.
does as well. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
right,
Well,
right, right. That's the thing, right? So right? There's those little character things. I feel you enjoy that. Am I right on that? Did I hit that the
Sure.
right? Sorry.
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, it's I get that. I get the script is already written. I get the script. I get the voice record. I get the designs, and yeah, I will. Of course, I will talk to my director and my producer on their specific direction that they want, and I will still try to, whatever I go with my gut feeling, and I'm like I feel that I can, of course, it's very important when you're a director. Well, it's very important to give the direction to your crew. It's like, okay, I really want to hit these beats, or when you come to this scene, I really want to give it this the feeling of such and such movie on such sequence, Pulp Fiction, in the moment of something. It's like, I want to give it this, I want to give it this voice. So, please help me bring that up. That's what I'm thinking. Um, when you are the board artist, you get the direction from your director and you communicate, okay, can I play with this? Can I play with that? Or, let me get a feeling of it. And then you present it, and either your director slash producer are going to say, good, or they're going to be like, no, I kind of wanted to move it into this other direction. And then that can happen. So
Okay, so
but
I'm
there
gonna
was
ask. Oh, sorry. Do you
what?
want to? Do you
Yeah.
want to finish? Do you want to finish before I ask this?
Go. No, no, no. Ask me.
Okay, so here's the thing. I realized this when I've asked cover artists to do stuff, illustrations inside my books. My artists are better skilled than I am at figuring out descriptions. They're better at than I am. So they'll take my direction for sure. Like, it's like, okay, I'm looking for this in particular,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll talk
Yeah.
about this. But every once in a while, they'll come up with something better than what you thought about. And I am almost certain you've done that at least once or twice. Is there an example of that?
You know what? Right now, I think that there were, yes, and I love it. It's like I was boarding on Green Lantern, the animated series, the series finale. There was a time that when I had the luck of being in the series finale, and there was a moment when, yeah, well, by now it's established property, so people. It's been out a long time ago, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything. Aya was dying, and Aya and Razor had this romantic relationship. Aya was an AI, and Razor was a Red Lantern, a reformed Red Lantern, and they had this connection. And Aya decided to give her life to save the universe, and uh, and because she actually wrecked it, she became tainted, she became evil, and then to correct it, she was disintegrating herself. And there was a moment when it wasn't in the script or anything, and Aya was trying to like go and take care of kind of like she was setting up. She was like, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna die. And then Razor hugged her, and there was this moment. I just put that in, and it's a tiny little gesture, but my director told me that when he was watching it live at a cafe, because whenever it aired, on the premiere of the episode on Saturday mornings when it aired, they went to this cafe, and there was this moment when he hugged her, and there were some girls in the audience in the cafe that gasped like, oh, So those are the kind of things that I love. That if I put it in, and then my director was like, yes, go for it. This was a tiny little thing, but I was so proud of it
But
because
it's
that gesture, he just hugged her, and people were like, the girls of the audience. So I'm like, yes.
well, yeah, you're a creative person. You have your own ideas, and you've told stories for like. I'm not going to ask how old you are because I don't want to get throat punched. But I mean, you've told your story for you've been telling stories for a long time. You know how they work, and I'm going to very continually move on. But I guess here's the curious thing. Because you were talking about doing comics earlier, because you've done so many established properties and you've worked within those systems for so long, do you find it difficult when you do your own thing, when those structures aren't there, to find a place to tell your stories?
I think that it's more like not finding the time to develop them,
Okay.
because that's the
Okay.
thing I have. There are two stories that I have really hold dear in my heart, and I have had them for a long time, and I just haven't been able to find the time to bring them
No,
forward. I have those journals, so it's more like the time. but yes, I'm finding my voice as a writer because I am a visual storyteller, and I'm like trying to not perfect, but bring that writer voice. And I haven't had time because the thing is like, you want to write, you want to become a good writer, write. You want to become a good artist, draw, or paint,
Exactly. Yeah, no.
and I haven't had the time to do that. It's just like inside and partially some notes that I have and some designs, but I haven't outlined it. So yeah, it's more like finding the time for me.
Okay. Okay. I'm certainly not going to tell you how to tell a story at this point in your life. You've done it more than I have. So I mean,
I no 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 no. I learn. I love. One day maybe we should like chat again or something
no,
because
no,
I would
no.
love to get into
Actually,
your brain.
so I told you that I would ask this. So this is what I'm doing when this officially becomes the talk show. I want to invite. Here's the thing. This is a visual show. Like the fact that we are on like a visual thing, and it occurred to me, you illustrators are amazing because you actually have a gift a lot of writers wish they had. Like you, I can look at your work and I can see what you offer like that, right? So what I want to do is every Friday on this podcast is I want to do a drink and draw, which is basically
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, that's right, right. So I already have my first three lined up. Like literally, I have one spot left, and then the full month is booked. It's the week of December 18th. Would you like to be the last guest, like the last drink
Oh
and draw?
my, that would be fantastic. I would love to. I'm gonna go check and just to make sure that nothing is happening, and
Yeah, yeah, no,
I would love to.
because I this is one of the things like my show is I don't know if you how much you got a chance to listen and see. It's yeah, I talk about creative stuff all the time, but
Yeah,
I also like highlighting what people's strengths are. And the thing about visual storytellers like yourself, you're visual.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so and also I can learn from you because I'm trying to come out of my comfort zone and draw more. Now I'm not even going to pretend I'm anywhere in your league, but the idea of just going out there, we're just talking, jam, like it still would be a little bit of an interview, but it's
Yeah,
more
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's more like a draw. So I got my you be my fourth one. I'd be like that's a pretty. I think it just sounds like an awesome idea, and we'll do it basically outside of a few hours in the day. I'll do it anytime you're free. Like that's pretty much that's pretty much the rule there. So I don't
It
care.
looks December 18th. It looks free.
Okay.
We will talk back because this sounds like an awesome idea. Either I'm gonna rock it or I'm gonna tank. I don't know. You never
No,
know
no,
with
you know
these
what?
creative things, but it would be awesome.
It don't matter if the idea here's the thing, right? I certainly like I've learned this too. I'm not afraid to suck, and that's like I'm not like the thing is if I'm not afraid to look foolish, if I'm not afraid to look bad, there's nothing that can stop me because really that like so what? I'm bad at it today. I posted a Facebook, those like remember those old 2012 like don't do these things, it's a scam. So someone came in like I did that not too long ago when COVID started, and someone was mocking me for it. It's like, you know what? Honestly, okay, I look foolish right this minute. Tomorrow, no one's gonna care.
I know.
Yeah,
You know what? And sometimes you gotta do the thing, and I'm like, I'm wiser. Even though was it a hit? Great. Was it a flop? I'm still wiser because I tried something. I don't know. It's. I'm
I
not
know.
afraid
Yeah,
to
no,
try.
no,
That's what I'm trying to say.
no. You're right. Like that's part of it. But the other part too is like I want to be open minded for as long as I can. Like just learn. That means every
Yes.
once in a while. That means every once in a while I'm calling it foolish.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
do
I
that.
have I have a psychologist friend, and she tells me it's like, oh my God, I'm actually terrified to do these kinds of interviews because I get scared, and she told me that's why you have to do them more. Not that I have a lot of them lined up or anything. It's just but it's like that's why you have to
I
do
would.
them so that.
Like seriously, you're awesome. Like
Oh, thank you, thank
yeah,
you.
you're awesome. I got to talk to somebody that worked on Avatar. That's a highlight of a very long day. It's like wow. I mean, and
Uh,
not just that. Like I mean, we goofed off. Like ladies and gentlemen, we goofed off on Green Lantern for like an hour. And yes, I'm still
oh
working on
yeah,
it. Before
yes.
we even started this conversation, we goofed off on
We
Green Lantern.
gotta go back to that. I think it's a great. I don't know. I think it's a great idea. You
I,
know, it was like
no,
it
I
was
no. Honestly, okay. I have a fun idea. If we do the drink and draw, you're going to give me a deadline. So the day I show up, I'll show you season 1, at least the Bible of season 1. Deal?
okay.
Done?
Deal,
Done.
deal,
Done.
done.
But yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I haven't been doing a lot of writing because I've been launching this talk show. But by that point, this will be launched, and I'll have a system nailed down. I have a Green Lantern series in my head, and we actually literally talked about it for like what I think I did like 5 seasons. Like we literally did it was there, right?
Yeah, it was like a great arc, you know, a great general arc with not a general arc, but it was very precise arcs of different seasons with different characters. I think it would be the bomb.
Yeah, no, yeah. It was funny because it started. Those ideas started based on the fact that I talked to somebody who was talking about restoring Green Lantern to just Hal Jordan. I'm like, nah, you can't do that because Hal's great, but everybody's got a Green Lantern they like, and
And
that's
I think that I like Green Lantern because when I was working on Green Lantern, the animated series, it was about Hal, but it was Josh Keaton, the voice of, and he gave so much of it that I think that that was the perfect voice for Hal.
no. Like that.
So
I, I do like. It's kind of like this. I feel like the Green Lantern series, the first cartoon, should have had at least one more season. It had another season in it that was really good. It should have. It was. I get it.
there's so much more to tell about that. If they remade it, then people would surely come back to watch it. You know, it will fall. The following would return.
Yeah, well, yeah, because and ladies and gentlemen, every one of my seasons has an Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, all of them. I figured out a good way to tell everybody's story. It's really fun. But I was gonna ask, like, going back to something.
Oh, by the way, disclaimer: this is us talking about, you know, as fans. We are not working on any project from Warner Brothers for the moment.
We are
This is us
no,
talking.
no.
Yeah,
This
this
is
is us just.
this is us just shooting the shit because
Yes, exactly. As
yeah.
fans, we're not doing any projects. Just disclaimer, legal disclaimers. This is us as fans who love a property.
Yes, no. I am literally just a guy. I am not like
Yeah.
I am BSing with somebody who's doing awesome things, and he was
Yeah.
let me do it, right? So
Yeah, we're just talking about stories that we know and love, and that we love to draw on them. And yeah, we're not doing any projects from anybody, and we're not being endorsed by anybody. So it's just us
exactly,
loving characters and stories.
that's totally accurate. But but I will say, like, if you come back to the drink and draw, I'll actually give you the Bible to it, and you tell me what you think of it, right? And then in return, you can we can do something fun. Like again, mine will be terrible, yours will be amazing, but it'll be a lot of fun to do it.
No, I think I'm a good visual storyteller, but I think that as a writer, you have more experience than me.
Well, no, that might be true, but I think here's the thing, and going back to something we were talking about with your comics and stuff and telling your stories. Comics are a visual medium. You have 90% of. I've seen great comics that don't have a single word in them, and I do feel this way. I think artists in comics in particular, do not get the respect they deserve because you like literally do all the heavy lifting. I can tell a story. But I can write a comic script at 2 days if I put my heart and soul into it. 2 days.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, but no matter how good you are, a 22-page script is going to take you 20 to 30 days. The time and effort it takes for you guys to get it done. Again, I'm not trying to downplay what I do.
No. No, it's all the detail. It's different workflows.
Yeah, very much so. But I will say this, right? You got the heavy lifting already nailed down. So what do you get? Like, what do you want to draw? Like what? So the best piece of advice I read not too long ago was the thing that you had the most fun, like sounds like you'd be some kind of weird fun X-Men book with like a twist. So that'd be awesome for you. But whatever you had fun with as a kid, or whatever you had fun with, like the thing you would have fun to read today should be the thing you work on. And
Yeah, yeah.
I bet you, like I said, when and if you do decide to do it, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see
Oh
it.
yeah, 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 yeah. I'll definitely, yeah. If I would love to show, like, hey, take a look at this outline that I have, it will be you. I would love for you to take
Okay,
a look at it.
okay, sure. We can totally do that. Okay. I think I think Elsa, we have a good interview here. What do you think?
I love our chat. I mean, ever since that
Yeah.
our chat on Messenger, I think we kicked it off. So
Yeah,
yeah, it
we
will
clicked
be.
really well. We clicked very well. I'm genuinely pleasantly surprised just how much fun you are, and also just there's a lot to you. It's awesome. It really, and you've
Thank
done a lot,
you,
you done a lot of cool things.
thank
So
you.
so how to do this? How to do this? You did
And
talk
by the
about.
way, you're an amazing interviewer. I love how you can keep a conversation. You're a great conversationalist.
I have a lot of practice. I've been doing it for a long time. So
That's
what I was
great.
thinking about, so I was thinking, okay, so you just finished a project. Superman Man of Tomorrow was your last project, right? For
Hmm?
like that was your last release, correct?
The last release was Superman Man of Tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
you want to talk about that and how people can find you?
Well, I am not very social media oriented for the moment. I'm on Facebook, Elsa Garagarza, in Facebook, and I do have, I will have an Instagram. I do have an account, but I haven't migrated my artwork there yet. It's also under my name, Elsa Garagarza, on Insta. That's where people will be able to reach me. And yeah, well, for the moment, we're plugging for the 101 Tales. Yeah,
Yeah. So what are you doing there? Like what are you?
I'm going to I'm gonna talk about my animation experience over there, and one of One Tales airs from November 17th through November 21st, and I am going to be on the 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time slot on Friday the 20th, and I'm just
Awesome.
gonna talk about my journey in art.
Okay. So I think I got two final questions. Two of them. Your favorite thing to draw?
Oh, my favorite thing to draw. Wow. Um, well, for the moment, I can say superheroes. I'm enjoying drawing superheroes.
That's right. Drawing on the spandex. Number two. Number two. What is the biggest piece? You've had a long and storied career in animation. What is the biggest piece of advice you could give anybody that wants to follow in footsteps like yours, whether they're doing 2D, 3D, anything along those lines?
Mhm. The best advice I got at the moment was to study good filmmakers, and to study specifically live action TV camera setups, because those were simple, especially at the time. That was before Game of Thrones and everything. So it's like, study how other filmmakers do their camera setups. So I would advise anybody at that moment. Supernatural was a big hit, and I like the way that they set up their camera. So uh, try to, whatever is your genre, try to look at the people the artists that you admire, directors that you admire, and study their work. See how they are working, how they cut, when they cut, how they shoot their material, and emulate as much as you can, because that's how you learn, by through copying. As in any when I was starting in foundations in art, they would make us copy master drawings at the beginning, from Leonardo, from Michelangelo, and everything. This is the same thing. Analyze the work of other filmmakers, and that will you'll learn how to learn through their work.
All right, Elsa, thank you very much for doing this. That was awesome. And for everybody that was watching or will be watching this, if you'd like to see interviews more like this, I have a subscribe button on my YouTube here. Click the button, subscribe. More streams are coming. A lot more streams are coming, I promise. Number one. Number two, I have a Patreon page, patreon.com/justjoshingpodcast. If you want to support the podcast that way, that'd be great. Stay inspired. Keep doing your thing. And I'll see you guys next time.
Bye, everybody.